I never thought a simple curiosity could change everything. My name is James, and for most of my life, I had lived quietly within the confines of expectation, studious, low profile, never doing anything that might draw too much attention. My secret fascination with makeup had been buried deep, a curiosity that I told myself was just playful experimentation, nothing serious. But as I stared at the small palette of colors in my hands that evening, I realized how wrong I had been. It had all started innocently enough. My girlfriend, Emma, was the creative type, confident, outgoing, and endlessly enthusiastic about beauty and fashion. She would often leave her makeup on the counter when she rushed out, and I found myself idly glancing at the brushes, the shimmering eyeshadows, and the soft lipsticks. Something about the textures, the colors, the way they could transform a face, drew me in like a magnet. I would deny it aloud, laugh it off when Emma caught me staring, but deep down a small, insistent part of me was curious, hungry even. That night, I was alone in our cozy apartment. Emma had gone to visit her family, and the quiet hum of the city outside was my only companion. On the kitchen counter, her makeup lay there, almost beckoning. I picked up the first brush, hesitant, my fingers trembling. It was soft, almost delicate, and the bristles tickled my palm. My reflection in the bathroom mirror seemed ordinary at first, but as I began experimenting, applying foundation, gently contouring, brushing on subtle eyeshadow, something extraordinary happened. I didn't recognize myself, yet at the same time, I felt more myself than I ever had. There was an electric thrill in the transformation. My face, normally plain and reserved, seemed to glow. The eyeshadow made my eyes pop. The lipstick highlighted the curves of my lips. Every brush stroke was a secret act of rebellion, a private indulgence in something forbidden yet irresistibly exciting. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and felt a flutter of exhilaration mixed with fear. Could I really look like this and still be me? Emma walked in halfway through my experiment. Well, not exactly walked in. I had been so engrossed that I didn't hear her come home. She paused in the doorway, her eyes widening, a mixture of surprise and amusement on her face. "Wow," she breathed, stepping closer. "James, you look amazing." My heart skipped a beat. I had imagined embarrassment, mockery, even rejection, but not this. Emma's eyes weren't judgmental. They were warm, intrigued, encouraging. For the first time, I felt a genuine validation, a thrill that went far beyond the simple act of applying makeup. From that moment on, a subtle obsession began to take root. It wasn't just about the brushes or the colors. It was the transformation itself. The way I felt when my reflection stared back at me as a version of myself that was bolder, softer, more expressive. Each day, I found small ways to explore it, sometimes in private, sometimes leaving hints for Emma to notice. Each layer of makeup was a secret indulgence, a hidden thrill I could barely contain. Yet with the excitement came fear. What if someone found out? What would my friends think? My family? I had never told anyone about this side of me. The secret carried weight, a delicious tension that was both terrifying and intoxicating. Every time I dabbed on blush or traced my lips with a pencil, I felt as if I were stepping into a forbidden world, a parallel life that was mine and mine alone. Emma, of course, was fascinated. She would offer tips, suggest colors, laugh when I struggled with eyeliner, and praise me when I got it right. Slowly, this shared secret became a game between us, a bond that deepened in subtle ways. But I knew I couldn't go public, not yet. The thrill was in the secrecy, the quiet moments alone or with Emma, the sensation of walking the fine line between my public identity and the one I had discovered in the mirror. That evening, alone once again, I stared at my reflection and realized that the line I had crossed wasn't just a whim, it was a point of no return. The moment I tried makeup, I had unlocked something inside myself I could never ignore. I felt alive in a way I had never experienced, a mix of vulnerability, confidence, and excitement coursing through me. And for the first time, I understood that this was more than a passing curiosity. It was part of who I was. As I carefully cleaned the brushes and set them back on the counter, I couldn't shake the thought that this secret, this thrilling indulgence, was now a permanent part of my life. The possibilities were endless. Different looks, daring experiments, exploring the full spectrum of who I could be. But with every possibility came risk, the fear of being discovered, of judgment, of losing control. And yet, the risk itself was part of the allure, part of what made each brushstroke electric with potential. I leaned back, tracing my fingers over my lips, still tingling from the lipstick. A shiver ran down my spine. Not from cold, but from anticipation. What would happen next? How far could I go before the thrill became too dangerous, too revealing? And when Emma looked at me tomorrow, would she see the same spark I saw in myself? The introduction ends here, setting up James's journey. The first experience with makeup that irrevocably changes their self-perception and identity, establishing the tension between desire and secrecy, and highlighting the bond with Emma that both encourages and complicates this secret. The days after that first experiment with makeup became a blur of excitement, anxiety, and self-discovery. I woke up each morning with a racing heart, anticipating the moments when I could sneak away to Emma's makeup collection. Each brush, each palette became an instrument of transformation, unlocking emotions I had never fully understood. What had started as a fleeting curiosity was now a powerful obsession, tugging at the core of who I was. At first, it was the simple things. A swipe of blush to brighten my cheeks, a dab of mascara to make my eyes pop, a touch of lip gloss to highlight their natural shape. I spent hours in front of the mirror, studying my reflection, memorizing the contours of my face, learning how colors changed my appearance, my confidence, my very presence. Emma noticed my fascination immediately. "You've got a real talent, James," she said one evening, her tone a mixture of teasing and genuine admiration. "I didn't think you'd have this kind of touch." Her praise made me blush, not from makeup, but from the thrilling validation of being seen, understood, even encouraged. Emma had always been supportive, but this was different. She wasn't just acknowledging a hobby, she was acknowledging a part of me I had barely dared to explore. And yet, beneath the exhilaration, a tiny voice whispered warnings. What if someone finds out? What if this changes how they see you? The secrecy became intoxicating. I began experimenting at times when Emma was out, or when the apartment was empty. Each session felt like stepping into another world, one where the rules didn't apply and where I could truly see myself. Makeup wasn't just about looking different, it was about feeling different, feeling powerful, feminine, vulnerable, and bold all at once. One evening, I decided to push boundaries. I selected a striking eyeshadow palette, colors I would never dare wear outside. Golds and deep purples shimmered under my fingertips, daring me to experiment. I traced the brush along my eyelids, blending and contouring with care. My reflection stared back at me, transformed into someone I barely recognized, yet who felt undeniably real. The thrill was almost overwhelming. I felt a mix of nervousness and liberation, the kind of tension that made my pulse quicken. I caught myself smiling, adjusting my hair, perfecting every line. Each stroke of the brush was deliberate, an act of creation, a secret rebellion against the ordinary, mundane version of myself that everyone else saw. Emma, of course, had become my accomplice in these moments. She would come home unexpectedly sometimes, pretending to be casual, only to find me mid-transformation. Her eyes would widen, a playful smirk forming on her lips. "You're really getting into this, aren't you?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. I could only nod, cheeks flushed, not from embarrassment, but from the thrill of being caught in a secret world. Emma would sometimes join in, offering tips, suggesting color combinations, laughing when I struggled to get eyeliner just right. Slowly, these moments became a private game between us, a bond that deepened in ways neither of us fully articulated. But as my confidence grew, so did my obsession. I found myself thinking about makeup even when I wasn't applying it. I watched tutorials late into the night, memorized brush techniques, practiced different looks on scraps of paper or on my own face in the mirror. My reflection became a playground, a laboratory, a stage. Each session was a lesson in control, in vulnerability, in expression. And each time I caught my reflection, I felt a thrill that was impossible to ignore. However, the thrill came with tension. The fear of being discovered loomed constantly. I would pause mid-application, heart racing, if I heard footsteps outside our apartment door. Sometimes I imagined a friend stopping by unexpectedly, or my family catching me in the act. The mere thought made my stomach twist with anxiety and excitement, a heady combination that only made the act more addictive. One afternoon, while Emma was out, I decided to take a risk. I tried on one of her dresses, a simple yet elegant piece she had left hanging carelessly in the closet. The fabric was soft against my skin, the color flattering, the fit perfect. I felt a thrill as I twirled in front of the mirror, imagining what it would be like if anyone else saw me like this. The reflection staring back at me was no longer just a curiosity. It was a version of me I longed to explore further. I spent the next hours adjusting, experimenting, adding accessories. A necklace, bracelets, even a pair of heels Emma had left behind. Each addition changed my posture, my confidence, my presence. I felt taller, bolder, more alive than I ever had before. And yet, as much as I loved the transformation, a creeping fear lingered. What if Emma walked in while I was mid-twirl? What if my friends, or worse, my family, found out? The stakes were rising, and the thrill along with it. Late one night, after Emma had returned and gone to sleep, I stayed up staring at my reflection, thinking about the life I was beginning to lead. Makeup wasn't just a pastime anymore. It was a doorway into a world where I could express parts of myself I had always kept hidden. I realized, with a mixture of fear and excitement, that there was no going back. Each brush stroke, each contour, each dab of color was part of a transformation that wasn't just skin deep. And that was only the beginning. The deeper I dove into this world, the more suspenseful life became. Every moment alone, every unexpected knock on the door, every phone call from Emma asking me to meet her somewhere, each one carried the potential to expose my secret. The line between excitement and fear blurred, making every transformation feel like a high-stakes game. By now, I was obsessed, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. Makeup had become more than a hobby. It was a lens through which I explored identity, desire, and vulnerability. I knew I was walking a fine line, but I couldn't resist the pull. Every evening was an opportunity for another secret experiment, another chance to explore this new self that thrilled and terrified me in equal measure. It wasn't just about the colors or the techniques anymore. It was about control, freedom, and self-discovery. And as I stood in front of the mirror that night, blending shades on my eyelids and applying lipstick with precision, I knew one thing for certain. I could never go back to the person I had been before. The world I had discovered in makeup was mine, and it was just the beginning of a journey filled with suspense, transformation, and exhilarating discovery. The next week was a whirlwind of secrecy, thrills, and escalating tension. James had fully embraced this new identity, spending hours each day experimenting with makeup, outfits, and accessories. But with every experiment came the creeping fear of discovery. The adrenaline of nearly being caught mixed with the sheer joy of transformation made each moment intensely suspenseful. It started one afternoon when Emma had a sudden errand and asked James to house sit. Alone in the apartment, the temptation was irresistible. James rushed to the bedroom, rifled through Emma's collection, and began experimenting with a bolder look than ever before: vivid eyeshadow, bright lipstick, and a shimmering highlighter. Every brush stroke felt like a defiance of the ordinary, a challenge to the mundane life James had left behind. The thrill was palpable, but then came the first obstacle. A sudden knock on the door made James freeze. Heart racing, James whispered, "Who is it?" "Delivery for you," came the muffled voice outside. Panic and excitement collided. James hadn't ordered anything. This unexpected visitor was a direct threat to the secrecy that had become so precious. With trembling hands, James hid the makeup, threw on a casual hoodie, and tiptoed to the door, trying to act nonchalant. But as the door opened, the sight of a package, a surprise from Emma's friend, brought a mixture of relief and renewed anxiety. Once the delivery man left, James sank onto the couch, trying to calm down. The close call had intensified the thrill. The fear of being caught made the transformation feel even more intoxicating. By evening, James was back at it, daring to try a full outfit from Emma's closet, a sleek skirt, fitted top, and heels. The mirror reflected a completely new persona, confident, elegant, and undeniably feminine. Every movement, every glance, every tilt of the head felt like stepping further into a character no one knew existed. Then the real test came. Emma returned earlier than expected. James froze mid-application, a brush in hand, heart pounding. Footsteps in the hallway signaled her approach. This was the ultimate suspense. Would Emma walk in and discover the secret James had nurtured with such care? Emma opened the door, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The tension in the air was almost unbearable. James swallowed hard, trying to maintain composure. "Hey, I was just, tidying up." Emma raised an eyebrow, her gaze flicking to the makeup brushes and the outfit sprawled across the room. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. "You really have a knack for this, don't you?" The relief was immediate, but James knew this was only the beginning. Emma's curiosity was now active. The secret was partially exposed, and every interaction would carry higher stakes. James spent the evening blending more complex looks, each one reflecting a deeper understanding of makeup, identity, and control. But with every look, the fear of being seen outside the apartment grew. The suspense escalated further when a neighbor, Mrs. Wallace, unexpectedly knocked on the door, asking for a small favor. James's mind raced. Should they answer? Risk being seen in full transformation? Or hide, praying Mrs. Wallace wouldn't insist on entering? In a flurry of panic, James hid behind the curtain of the living room, heart thundering, barely daring to breathe. The neighbor's chatter grew louder, each word heightening the tension. Finally, after what felt like hours, Mrs. Wallace left, but not without glancing suspiciously at the slightly ajar bedroom door. That night, James sat in front of the mirror, reflecting on the escalating danger. Makeup had always been about self-expression, but now it carried consequences, threats, and thrilling suspense. Each stroke of eyeliner or dab of lipstick was both liberation and risk. Every moment alone, every interaction, was a high-stakes game. Could James maintain this double life without being exposed? The next day, Emma suggested they attend a small social gathering with friends. James knew this would be the ultimate challenge. Would they dare to go out in full makeup and feminine attire? Could they keep composure in front of others while maintaining the secret identity that had become so intoxicating? The anticipation was unbearable, but the allure of stepping fully into this new self was irresistible. The event arrived, and James dressed meticulously, choosing a look that was bold yet elegant. Every detail mattered: the shimmer of the eyeshadow, the precise eyeliner, the lipstick that defined the lips perfectly. Walking out of the apartment, heels clicking on the floor, James felt both powerful and vulnerable, the tension of exposure mingling with exhilaration. At the gathering, the suspense reached its peak. Friends complimented the look, unaware of the secret behind it. Every glance, every comment, every whisper carried potential risk. James navigated the room with careful poise, laughing and conversing, all the while acutely aware of the fragile lines separating the known self from the hidden persona. Then the climax, the moment of near discovery. Emma's younger cousin, visiting unexpectedly, caught sight of James mid-gesture, noticing the full transformation. James froze, heart pounding, caught between panic and the thrill of being recognized in a new light. Would they expose the secret, react with confusion, or play along convincingly? The tension was unbearable, and every second stretched into eternity. James managed to recover, smiling and laughing, deflecting attention with casual charm. But the incident left a lingering sense of vulnerability. Any moment could unravel the delicate balance. The experience solidified a truth James could no longer ignore. The journey into this transformed identity was exhilarating, intoxicating, and fraught with suspenseful risk. The night ended with a symbolic moment. As James removed the makeup in private, the reflection in the mirror showed both the old self and the transformed self, layered in a fragile equilibrium. The duality was thrilling and terrifying, a tension that defined the entire journey. As James finally rested, a soft ping of the phone signaled a message from Emma, a teasing emoji and the words, "Can't wait to see what you try next," face blowing a kiss. The playful tone hinted at both encouragement and subtle challenge, another layer of suspense, another step into the unknown. By the end of the night, it was clear James had crossed a threshold. Makeup was no longer a fleeting curiosity. It was a portal into a complex world of identity, desire, and suspenseful discovery, where every brushstroke carried consequences and exhilaration in equal measure. The next morning, James woke to the soft hum of the city outside and the lingering scent of yesterday's perfume and makeup. The events of the previous day played over and over in their mind. The social gathering, the compliments, the near discovery by Emma's cousin. Every interaction felt like a tightrope walk between exhilaration and exposure. Sitting at the vanity, James began their morning routine, but the brush hovered midair. Today, the stakes felt higher. Emma had sent a cryptic message earlier. "Got a surprise for you today," smirking face. James didn't know whether to be thrilled or anxious. Every fiber of their being screamed that this could be another challenge, another moment where the secret could unravel. As they applied a delicate layer of foundation and adjusted the eyeliner, the apartment door creaked. James froze, the brush trembling in their hand. The lock rattled. Emma was home early. "Hey, just wanted to check something," Emma called casually from the hallway. Panic surged. James ducked behind the vanity, trying to appear calm while concealing the full transformation. Heart hammering, they adjusted their wig, tugged at the skirt, and reminded themselves to breathe. The thrill of being so close to being caught made every sensation sharper. The brush in their hand, the smooth fabric against their legs, the faint scent of perfume mixing with adrenaline. Emma stepped into the room, her eyes scanning, her smile teasing. "You're up early. Everything okay?" "Yes, yeah, just tidying," James stammered, their voice slightly higher than normal. Emma's gaze lingered a beat too long, a mischievous glint in her eyes. She seemed to sense something, a curiosity that James couldn't read. Then she tilted her head, speaking softly. "You know, I saw the photos from last night. You looked amazing." James's chest tightened. The compliment was a thrill, but it also carried risk. Emma had seen the makeup, the outfit, the confident persona that James had carefully cultivated. Would this lead to acceptance or suspicion? Before James could respond, the sound of a knock at the door startled them. James's heart leapt. Another visitor? Another threat to the fragile secret? Emma's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "You expecting someone?" "No, I don't think so," James whispered, trying to steady their racing pulse. Emma smiled, stepping closer. "Well, maybe it's fate. Or maybe it's just another twist in this game of yours." She gave a playful wink. The knock came again, louder this time, urgent. James froze mid-motion, caught between hiding and confronting the unknown. The door rattled once more. Panic, excitement, and anticipation collided into a dizzying mix. Emma laughed softly, almost teasingly. "Go see who it is." "I'll wait." James's mind spun. Every scenario flashed in their imagination. A neighbor seeing the full transformation, someone from work, a friend, even Emma's cousin again. The risk was tangible, immediate. Their fingers shook as they reached for the door handle. With a deep breath, James swung the door open and froze. Standing there, silhouetted in the hallway, was someone James didn't expect at all. The figure smiled, a knowing glint in their eyes. James's stomach dropped, adrenaline spiking. Recognition and shock collided in an instant. Before a word could be exchanged, the door behind them clicked shut. Emma's teasing voice echoed softly from the room. "Looks like your secret just got a visitor." James's heart raced, every nerve alive. The visitor stepped closer, And James realized this encounter could change everything. Every moment of secrecy, every thrill of makeup and transformation was about to be tested in ways they could never have imagined. The visitor's smile widened. "So, this is the real you?" James's breath caught. The dual life they had been living, the thrilling exploration of identity, the risk and excitement, they all hung in the balance. And in that suspended moment, with Emma watching from the room and the visitor's gaze fixed on them, James realized one terrifying, exhilarating truth. There was no going back. The screen fades to black.